Welcome to the Alkalign Lifestyle podcast, where we delve into the essence of living a bioelectric life through mind, body, and spirit alignment. Join us as we explore the transformative power of a plant-based diet, cellular cleansing, chakra alignment, meditation, and intentional living. Discover how raising the vibration of your cells can lead to infinite health and well-being. Our episodes cover topics ranging from nutrition and mental health to stress management and healthy movement and relationships. Get ready to embark on a journey towards becoming the greatest version of yourself with insights from our master chef, Drea Anoka, holistic health guru, Fidelis Anoka II, and special guests. Tune in to elevate your consciousness and embrace the alkalign lifestyle. Welcome back.
Let's do it. This is like five. Like 5 or 6.
5.
Yeah, it's 5.
5.
Yeah, it's 5. Yeah.
We've done it. We've done it again. And today we are talking about the value of genuine sexual connection. And this came up recently for us because I made the decision to toss my vibrator out the window in the trash. Literally in the trash, in the dumpster.
I took it to the dumpster.
He took it to the dumpster. And originally, you encouraged me to get one to help me with like getting more intimately connected with myself, which was a great tool until I found it to be taking away from my connection with you. And so I decided ultimately to ditch it, which a lot of women would be like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? Well, honestly, in my opinion, I believe that we are designed to want and to seek intimacy with a real person. And I see people that get so attached to their tools or their things, and this is even in the sexual space. And so people start to create these unhealthy relationships to these tools, and it starts to interfere with the connection and the bonding and even the sensualness of the intimacy. And for me, that was not what I wanted, because that's what I was experiencing. And so I decided to get rid of it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I okay. From the start of creating this entire lifestyle philosophy, I learned it from that Wilhelm Reich talking about the orgone energy and about the armory and about the suppression, the sexual suppression. And then people talk about 7 chakra energy center, but they're not looking at it from the bottom, the base. That's pretty much sexual organs and energy. So it's like, okay, if you don't even have that to generate, then you can't even raise your awareness of any kind, because you haven't even gone through the process. So I did get it for you. It was like 2021 or something.
You did. You drove me to this store. I don't remember where we went.
It was like Santa Monica Boulevard. We were like close to the ocean. We were in Santa Monica, so we were close to the ocean. Yeah, we were. Really? We were on that side, and I remember going to go get. But that's just because I didn't think you knew anything about yourself, like anatomy wise. Yeah, you should.
I most certainly did.
You know, well, okay, not like that, but like in terms of a sexual experience, I didn't think you knew that much about it. And what was it? There was a book I remember. It was the book with the sexual health program for the women that I had given you, all this research, and they did all these studies and stuff. But the main thing was for you to understand what armoring and things and suppression comes from.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, you should get one of these. They help you raise your vibration.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely did help me and allowed me to like explore you know, and
that's what I meant.
yeah.
That's what I meant. It was just for sexual exploration. Like, you're supposed to be able to fantasize and do things and have the freedom to do that. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That you didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was something that I was able to do with it. And then ultimately I got to the place where I really wanted the bonding with you, because it was like I was getting more pleasure from this instant gratification kind of experience. And it even talked about in one of the books that you gave me, the chakra, what was it? It was the one with like the stones.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
but it's like yeah, it's like a sexual.
And she's using high frequency rocks and stone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think in that book, and even in another book that you gave me, it was talking about like how some women can grow dependent on these tools, because like they're just focusing on the stimulation in one spot, and then they go to have sex with their partners. It's just not as exciting because it's like, you know, I'm not getting the same type of stimulation. This is what I'm used to. So you almost have like this tolerance, like this high tolerance for a lot of stimulation. And it is different between like a vibrator and like an actual person. But I think ultimately what I was finding for me was I was just not getting the connection that I wanted with you, and I wanted to be able to transfer the intimacy I was building just by myself into, you know, our connection and our time. And I wanted to be able to, because like there was clearly no challenge of that when we first met. Like, and that's how all couples tend to be, where it's like when you first meet, your sexual connection is very, very strong. It's because there's so much traction. And then you get to know the person, and your relationship grows and expands, and then things come up in the relationship, and sometimes it's hard for people to look the other way, and that can affect their intimacy. And so I think ultimately that was where I was just wanting to get back to, was that like, hey, you know, I'm over these things that came up in our relationship. I'm ready to release them and let them go, and I want to build like a genuine connection with you.
I think it's, well, like, you know what, I think you have a problem with forgiveness and also ownership. They think that they own something, or they own the other person, or in some way they feel ownership of some kind. And then they also don't focus on forgiveness. Like, that person is living their own life experience. They're not living their own life experience based on what you're saying is okay or not. And so if you don't look at it from that perspective, then you immediately give up the freedom. Because I think people who really have love don't care about what other people think about and care about and feel about them. Yeah. Even if they're in a relationship, you know, you just care to do the best job you possibly can, make them feel as good as you can because you feel as good as you can. But other than that, yeah. So I think that's a problem. If you go and you have an argument, then people don't. Then, you know, you'll find withholding of energy or attraction, and then that's what the Wilhelm Reich, they call the armoring and the suppression. So now you walk around, like I told you multiple times, like you don't walk around in your house like roommates. That's not okay.
That's how we work.
You know, and so it's like you walking around like a roommate, and then if I'm addressing it and you're not addressing it, why aren't you addressing it? It's like, hey, I'm not your roommate. Like, it's like either I'm this or I'm this. So which one is it? And then, you know, people don't want to go to face the internal, like, why aren't you letting it go type of thing. And that's where it's like, so forgiveness is not as important as connection. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
And what I've realized, because like I was always a very sexually curious person, and so it was always something that I thought that you should have that in every like romantic relationship that you have, if that's something that you really want to pursue. And what I realized was by the sexual connection between us being not really there, it was, you know, I'm suppressing my sexual expression, and you know, it has such an impact on your immune system, on your happiness, on your gut health. It has such an impact on, you know, you're bonding with the person. But it's like when you suppress something that needs so deeply to be expressed, and ultimately nobody wants to be unhappy and miserable. People want to be happy, but it's how do you, a lot of people, like you said, have a hard time of forgiving and moving past things that came up in a relationship or in the person's life. It may not even be something that had anything to do with the partner, but it's like you're holding on to so much and suppressing yourself so much that it's blocking you and your libido. Like, you don't have any sex drive, you don't have any sexual expression, and it really hinders your health because I mean, you're just in a sad state. You're unhappy, and so like sexual expression is so healthy. And you know, there's even, you know, we're talking about, you know, not just about like women's sex toys, but even talking about like toys that men use, or even like pornography that people use to get themselves aroused, because their current state, either they can't get themselves invested in it, or their partner is just not getting invested in it, or they just don't have anybody. And so they use pornography, and men will use different sex toys as well. And some people grow very dependent and addicted. I mean, look at Kanye West.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's, you start to see, it doesn't matter, first of all, it does not matter your net worth. That's, as you just mentioned, it's like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who you are. You know, if you don't, you aren't able to have a genuine connection just because, you know, people, they go through, and I think it's all based upon an intention. I still look at the word intention, and I say, if you're not intentional about who you're going to like sleep with, you know, you have a problem, because your whole journey, life journey, you're gonna try to find somebody to meet you halfway, so that you can create and you can give your half to their half, and then you can combine it to make a whole nother thing. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, you're like, you should probably care a lot more, you know? And so many people, they just fall, and I think men, especially at this moment, because of, you know, like the food, like all these things, that these chemical causes that's making everybody so weak. And so now they can't even go out to say hello to a woman, or they can't go out to go give a compliment, or they can't go out to, you know, to say, hey, I think you're pretty, would you like to go on a date or something, you know? And I also think dating is also for couples. I don't know why people, you know, it's like, if you're not with somebody yet, then you can date them, but then when you get with them, you can't go on a date. It's really like, it's an awkward thing. So I think it should be switched around, where you get to go hang out with a person that you desire to be with, but then when you become a couple, then you can date them. You know, you can go take yourself out to favorite things, and because most of it is subconscious anyway. You know, you may meet somebody at first, and then all of a sudden, when you get to a relationship with them, they're a completely different person. And you didn't know that they were like this, that they were reactionary, or that they were mean in some ways, or that, you know, they had an attitude towards certain things, or you didn't know that, because when you first met them, they weren't showing you that, because they were attempting to court you into something. It's like, nah. So, you know, both sides aren't actually authentic and transparent. You didn't get the best side of a person. You only got the fake side. You didn't get the best side of a person. To me is the honest side. You know, like with all the struggles and everything that comes with it. If you don't put all of it out on the table, then you can't even express yourself sexually, because that's not gonna work out. So yeah, I think men do, they do it. They got the little toys where they have like the little parts of the women. It's weird. Like I looked it up after you talking about it. I was looking it up, and they like cut the women, or they have like dolls and stuff, and they'll be addicted to like these dolls that don't have no mind or nothing. They just give them a character a role to play in their life. It's crazy, and it's like you can't just go find somebody that look like that. You can go find somebody that look like that. You can go outside and find someone. There's beautiful people everywhere. You can find somebody. It's like, man, like you're so sheltered. You know, that's scary.
Yeah.
To do that.
And even like, we were talking about, how you just brought up like food, right, can affect your sexual connection. And we're gonna jump topics just a little bit, but how food and media, music, and lifestyle affect your sexual relationships. Like I remember reading in, I think it was, I don't know, maybe like a Self magazine or something. And I remember reading, probably in my 20s, I read this, and it was like, couple, or the people who are more fit are more, have greater sex lives because they have the stamina, they have the flexibility, the mobility, the strength, and sex overall is just great for your cardiovascular health. And so when you're physically fit, you're also more attracted to yourself. You're more attracted to your partner because, as we talked about in our last episode, being physically, like being healthy is attractive. Everybody really truly, that's why like when you see somebody who has like this pretend glow about them, or they have their hair done, or they look put together, it looks clean, it resembles health in some way, right? Because health is clean, health is organized, it is structured, it is disciplined, and all those things. So if there's any representation of that, you're attracted to it. People are not attracted to sloppy.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, like people are not genuinely attracted to sloppy. Unless you are a sloppy person and you are attracted to somebody who's sloppy because it reaffirms your sloppiness. But ultimately, where our higher selves are most attracted is what resembles health, because that means longevity, that means, the generational, lineage, that resembles life. And so, all these different aspects affect your sexual relationships. And so, like you were just talking about food, like I said, things that you eat. And actually in retreats, I talk about this, and with even clients one-on-one, and I talk about how food is a sexual experience. When you think about it, when you're, the way that you're consuming the food is in a very sensual way. You're experiencing the food as like the taste, the texture, the smell, the whether it's crunchy or soft or smooth or creamy or salty or sweet. You're experiencing all of these things just with your tongue. You're literally masturbating your tongue with food, and you literally like are becoming part of one. Like it's becoming you, but you're entangling your energy with the food too. So it's a very deep, intimate experience. And even people will bring food into the bedroom or the sexual experience, because food is so primal, it is so sensual. It's part of our first two energy centers, actually our first three energy centers, because what you put in your gut is also going to have information and intelligence that's going to attract you to somebody else's information and intelligence. And so when you see couples who don't have great gut health, right, they're going to be on the same frequency, they're going to be sharing the same information, and very unlikely, if they have poor gut health, are they going to have great sex health. And couples who have greater gut health are going to have greater sex health, because their hormones are more imbalanced. They just generally feel happier, their libido increases. So, and music too is such a big, music and media are just so big in how we think about sex, or what we expect in the act of having sex. And I remember, like, I used to watch porn as a youngster, and even as an adult. I would watch it and I would like, that's exactly what I would carry into like the bedroom, is like the expectation of how it was supposed to go, because I didn't know, like I just had no idea and nothing to teach me. I didn't watch my parents have sex, but they used pornography and toys too. So it was just like, you don't learn it in school, in elementary school or in high school. You just, you learn through examples.
Yeah, I think the examples though, aren't the greatest, because now you look at, like I told you, like in terms of like wealth, you'll see all the music videos that show you the same thing with all the little girls around the poolside in the swimwear and everything, and that's fine. Like y'all can have all the underwear or whatever and cheeks out, and that's great, but that does not, transfer into you actually have a wealth of knowledge. It's not like that. It's almost like they're used as like that, just assets, and it's not even like an asset that brings you anything. It's not. It's not like that. So it's mostly, and I've seen it because I'm from the deep south. When you come from deep south, you see this the ways that they were using it. Right. It's not like they were using it in terms of queens and kings. It's not like that. It's not how they were using it. It wasn't looked at like gods and goddesses. It was just, you have a bunch of women, and so one man, and it has a bunch of women, and he has a bunch of women on payroll, and they come whatever he wants and all that stuff, and it's like, so the more money that you have, the more women that you have that are beautiful and pretty and all this stuff. And it's like, that's not necessarily the case though. Like, most of the men, you grew up, I'm not that old, to know. I never got to watch, what's his name? Will Chamberlain. It's like they talk about Will Chamberlain, the Laker, the basketball player, and he had the 10,000 women. He had sex with 10,000 women. That was like the champion thing. And so now they don't talk about Will Chamberlain also passed away in his mid-60s. They talk about like the Hugh Hefner, like the Playboy gentleman, or the mansion up the way. And you don't talk about that type of stuff. Like that's what men are looking at, like you idolizing that because you're growing up in the magazines and the music video. So that stuff is telling you, how you're supposed to be, and it's like, no, that's not how you're supposed to be. That's not a genuine connection. You walk around, you got 10, 15 women that don't really know who you are. They're just dancing around because you got some money. That's not it. That's not what you want to have. But you don't think about that whenever you really get into a relationship, that you got to cancel all that stuff out because it's just like a distraction to you. So I've seen all the pornography stuff too. What happens to a male, I think what happens to men is that they lose the ability to connect with a woman. They can't even be honest anymore. That you can't even come to a person and tell you, to have a genuine connection with them or have some affection. You don't know how to do it no more because you've been watching on these video or on this pornography, and you don't know how to do it. You're just sitting here like, well, she's supposed to do this, because in the video or in the movie,
it's supposed to be this instant,
like,
because that's what it's like. You just pull your pants down and then you do the act, and it's like,
it's not how it's supposed to work.
And
man.
And I was thinking like, on here we talk about also like the lifestyle affects your sexual relationships, and I think that people who are more disciplined in their lifestyle and their self-care and in their like physical training have more discipline also in the bedroom, because they know like not to have instant gratification, because it just like ruins the experience.
Well, that's the thing, to talk about food, and if you have a certain way of eating, say you go out on a date and then you want to go get the popcorn or the candy or something, that's one thing that will cause chemical imbalances and maybe cause you to want to have sex with your partner but not even want to have a connection. You can have sex without having a connection.
Right.
And so, that's where, I'm pretty sure that's what we're getting at with the pornography stuff. You can have sex without having a genuine connection. So which one would you prefer? Would you want to have the connection? Because that's actually what I believe it's all about, the experience of the connection. Because if you look at it from, there's the woman that has the internal sexual organs and the men has the external ones. You have to look at it from you're connecting to it to combine into a whole. Now, if you can't look at it from that perspective, then you're missing the experience.
Yeah.
So, people, they go on a date. The first thing they say is, "You want to get something to eat?"
Or get a drink.
Or get a drink.
And
so,
alcohol is probably the worst.
That's worse. That's
in terms of like experiencing actual connection with somebody, it completely takes you away.
Yeah.
And people think that, if I just have a drink, if I just, get drunk, it's gonna be more fun because I don't have, my conscious mind isn't playing.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, like, you actually have worse sex because
I think so, yeah.
half the time you can't get things working.
Yeah.
And half the time you're falling asleep.
Yeah.
Right? Or like you don't even remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no deep connection.
No.
And then think about like how food and other substances affect your reproductive health.
Yeah.
And that's like almost kind of, I mean, it's not taken seriously by people. And you look at, like, we're here in West Hollywood and there's a bar nearby and everybody's drinking for Sunday fun day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And getting drunk, and then, or when people go out to the bars, they go to the clubs, and then they go and they have sex with either their partner or a stranger. And like, what level of intimacy did you really have? And the answer is none. You didn't.
You had no connection at all, and most of it is because you're afraid to show your authentic self. And I think that is the main mistake. People are having sex with people that they don't even know, because people that are portraying themselves as something they don't even know themselves. So both parties are lying. It's not just one party that's lying. You lying that you don't know who you are, and the person on the opposite end is lying that they're giving you the whole self.
Yeah.
Because you can feel when somebody's not 100% whole. You can feel when somebody's not being their 100% true, authentic self. And then the person that's not going to expose you for that, they're enabling you to do that. So they're lying too. So both parties are not being transparent. And you want to go to lay with them. That transfers a program to if you do decide, and I also believe in things in terms of like childbirth and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to have a child if you don't actually believe in that, in yourselves don't believe in that. I do believe that. I do believe that women can stop themselves from accepting a partner and accepting the information. I do believe that. And if they truly within all their heart say, I don't want to have that, they won't have that. It's nothing happens by chance. But I also believe, like, why would you have to have like birth controls and things like that? All we're gonna do is say no. But I think that they don't subconsciously know what they're asking for. They're watching all these things and they're watching all these movies and they're expecting all this stuff to happen. It's like, that's not really what love is. I think if they would really just take accountability for it, everything would change. You wouldn't lay down with any and everyone. You would actually figure out first if this person qualifies and they meet the expectations that I have for myself, not for them, but for myself. And then if they do, then you say, okay, they qualify. So now what's next or something, but I don't think people look at it from that perspective, because food is big. It's only been just over 7 years we've been eating plant. But I love it. As far as flow and erectile dysfunctions and people complain about stuff like that.
Everything works.
It all works. You don't have any problem when you eat plants. And most men, I think, are just too shallow, and they just want to have some like aura of control or something, and that's why they talk about carnivores, this and all that stuff. Like, that stuff isn't true. I got more muscles than a lot of people who eat all meat. I don't care. It doesn't matter. That's just an excuse for you not to change the way that you've already been. That doesn't sit well. But you're gonna attract women who are the same way. So if that's what you want, then that's what you want. But I don't do the acidic stuff. So my partner shouldn't be either. And I think that's a big thing about food, because synthetic estrogen, made up estrogen in all the food, too much bread, too much gluten things that are expanding your tummy. You see all these men that walk around with big bellies and stuff. That's not an attractive thing.
It's usually from beer.
Yeah, that beer bellies and alcohol, that's not attractive. And I think women just lying. Like don't lie. You know, like don't do that. Don't do that too. What's that concept? The dad body type of thing.
Dad bods.
That's stupid. Because you don't want to have no fit dad. There's no fit dad. It doesn't
Well,
make sense.
and I think that like the dad bods, like I mean that became a popular thing maybe 1 or 2 decades ago, and I see men who they use their wife's pregnancy or their partner's pregnancy as an excuse because the woman doesn't have control over what she's eating. You know, she kind of let that go out the window because society makes it almost, it just normalizes that, you know, when you're pregnant, you can eat whatever you want for the entire 9 months because you're pregnant and you deserve it.
Yeah.
It's like, no. That's the time to be the most disciplined.
That's right, because you're transferring information. Yeah, that's right. You shouldn't just do that. You shouldn't be like, oh, I'm craving something. I don't care what you're craving. Is that good for you? No, it ain't going. It's not going down.
Well, and I mean, cravings too are related to just mineral deficiencies and whatever you're needing. So, and we talked about this in one of our previous episodes, like even during menstruation when women are craving chocolate or something, for example, and they're really craving the cacao because the cacao has magnesium in it, and that's what they're looking for. And so, like, the same thing is during pregnancy. And so, yeah, food has a huge impact on your reproductive health and we think that we need something that we don't really need.
You don't need that.
And
eat plant. Plant.
Eat plants.
Sure.
Make life simple. Eat more plants.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Reptiles. What does that even mean?
Yeah. Well, and then you have so leaping off of that, you were talking about birth control for women. So then they have the pills for men, to
it was
get it up.
Stupid. Yeah, like I'm seeing the blue chews and stuff. What does that stuff even mean? Like, I'm gonna outsource my erection to a little pill popping. That is the stupidest thing. That is so demasculinizing. Like you can't sit there and tell yourself that you're an actual man. You can't even imagine yourself to get it up. You gotta be kidding me. That's weak.
Well, and I wonder how it affects anything that I believe that anything that is synthetic, it takes away from the true essence of whatever, whether it's being able to feel. I think ultimately we're always looking to feel God.
Yeah.
Whether it's through sex, through food, through career, through family and connection and relationships, whatever it is, we're looking for the experience of connection with the creator, because that is ultimately connection with ourselves.
Yeah.
And I believe, anything that's synthetic takes you away from truly experiencing that. So I am curious about how these pills or these chews for men, and I feel like maybe I heard this somewhere and maybe I'm wrong, and if anybody has heard of this and it is true, like leave a comment in the comment section, because I'm curious if there's something for women that helps them to get in the mood for sex. And I actually, I think I saw something. I think there are pills out there that stimulates the woman's libido. And absolutely there are foods that naturally do it too.
Yeah.
And maca is one of those. Dear Lord, ladies, if you want to take something natural that can help you with your hormones and your libido, take gelatinized maca. That is literally from the creator, and my God, you will get so turned on and stimulated so fast. But ultimately, anything that's synthetic, what I'm trying to say is anything that's synthetic, I believe, takes you away from the experience.
I think so. Yeah. You know, it just depends on the people. You're caring about the experience itself in terms of having sex. You're caring about the connection with the whole. That's just pretty much what it comes down to in terms of lifestyle. Some men and women just want to have sex because it's like the escaping thing.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be for escaping. It should be for creation. I don't understand why you would do it for escaping. It's just like another addiction. It's like smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, we can get addicted to anything.
Yeah, so rather than use it for that purpose, I would just focus on using it for creation. I wouldn't focus on using it for that.
So let's talk about patterns of sexual relationships. And, you know, we've been very open about our prior relationships and partnerships and what the experiences were like, and, you know, not just in the intimacy realm, but also just in the entire dynamic of the relationship. And so let's talk about the patterns of relationships for a bit and how they affect, you know, your sex life and your choices with sex, and, you know, how you choose to engage with sex and treat sex.
Yeah, well, I think it's just how you attracted it and how you performed it and the partners that you did it with. And if you only know how to do it in that capacity with those types of partners, you're gonna keep drawing those types of partners to do the same thing over and over again. So if you had people who you did it as an escape with, you're gonna have more escape. There's your side piece people, side piece men or women. You only had to escape because you have an actual relationship, but you have the escape person that you can call upon, which makes no sense. Like to me, it's too much energy, you know. But the whole point is that you're doing it for an escape. So then that's a pattern of relationship. You have a person that you have this for and a person that you have this for. But rather than you choosing wisely and actually being intentional about who you're choosing, because I think people have this thing where they think they have to have 6 or 7 people to fit one person. But why don't you just write down those 6 or 7 things and see if that one person can grow into it, or if that there's always going to be a match. You just have to be able to be specific and clarify. And so in terms of a sexual relationship, you have patterns of if you were younger, you were an athlete, you may like athlete. If you were in the gym, you may have a gym person. If you were a business person, you may have a business person. Because you're saying, I'm drawn to this person. No, I don't think you said you're drawn to this. Like, that's the person that you are. So in response to whom you are, the mirror is going to be a person that's looking you in the mirror. You know, in terms of the intention behind, again, the creation or the actual experience of escaping. You're going to find the people who believe in escaping and the people who believe in using it to create. And they're going to put it on a pedestal, or it's a higher ordeal. So people are going to put it on a lower pedestal if it's just another thing. And so, like, which one are you drawing in? You know, I had that when I didn't start when I was like really young. In that case, you know, I didn't have like 19, I think, when I first had sex. It wasn't a bad thing. I loved it. All the partners that I had, I think they're all amazing, you know, but I fall out of resonance with all of them because the intent behind it is different in this day and age. Now I just see it as I want to have one that I can now grow to elevate, because after a little while, going to go seek dozens of partner is gonna get old. It's not gonna have anything new. It's just like chasing something that you're never gonna find because you haven't found it inside yourself. So once you find it inside yourself, you don't need to keep doing that. You don't need to keep outsourcing it all the time. I gotta go I gotta go out to the club tonight to go get this person. I gotta go out to this place to go get this person. It's like, you don't need to keep doing that. That to me is also like an addiction. And you'll meet people, they're gonna keep that addiction going and keep that pattern of behavior going. And that's all you're attracting into your experience. I've not had too many, you know, where it says I'm outsourcing and I got the side piece. I don't do the side piece stuff. That's too much work. You know, so, you know, but you also see that you may not have the commitment one either.
Yeah.
And so which one's more fulfilling? I think the commitment one's more fulfilling. You know, when I had commitments, they were a little bit different because they were more fulfilling. But then also, whenever you have the commitment, you stop doing it. You stop having sex or having a exchange of energy. You stop having a connection, because it's like whenever you have the commitment, it's almost as if like you're hooked, so now they don't have to do anything. You know, in my opinion, that's kind of what happens. And so it also turns off the urgency, where it's like, am I not here to serve or here to pleasure my partner? It's like, no, like you're sitting there saying, what can you get from that person? And I also believe that women are just more sexual being, and then they are more capable. They just do a better job. You know, it just like letting them be free. It just does a better job. And so I think that they should be allowed to do things like that. But you'll have insecure men, you know, that they can't. You can't wear that, or you can't dress like that. That's inappropriate or something like that. I'd rather be impressed and attracted all the time. So in my parents' relationship, many of the partners that I had were conservative. They just did not care to do that. And I didn't voice it as a thing that I thought was like a deal breaker. Like, I want you to do that. I would like for you to go out to be expressive, sexually expressive. I'm not insecure about myself. I know I look great. I do keep my fitness and my self-care up. I do eat well. I do think well. Like, I think I'm great. And I don't own you, you know? So why don't you go out and be expressive? What's wrong with that? And it doesn't mean that you gotta go be an OnlyFans like person, or, you know, go have a pornography. So I'm not saying that, but you do need to be able to be expressive. You don't need to walk around conservative and covered up. I feel like that was a bad pattern that I had, where I just enabled that to happen. And I didn't say, hey, I'd like for you to be more sexually expressive, because it would not only help you feel more free and feel more alive, you know, you're a part of something, but you're not in prison. You're not in jail. Like, go out and do whatever you want to kind of, like, so what?
Yeah.
You know, just make sure that you have it within your consciousness that you have a commitment. If you have a commitment, then hold on to your commitment. But why not be a sexy person and a unique person? And I feel like I didn't, not that I didn't make it okay. Most of the time I just didn't make it a priority. I didn't say it. Hey, this is important for me. Yeah. I want you to feel like this, or, you know, make sure that your aesthetics are good. And yeah, I didn't always do that. You know, I did it for myself, but that was the thing that I did not voice for, you know, my partner. But yeah.
Yeah, and I like my own experiences, you know, and I picked this up. This is something I've experienced with other, just as an observer for other people's, like, the patterns that we cultivate in relationships can set the tone for what we expect in the next relationship. And in terms of intimacy, like how frequently and how, you know, fast or slow or soft and gentle or rough and rugged or whatever, or how freely the person might, you know, want to explore. And I think that can create excitement. I think it can also, like, you have to be mindful. I think it's important to be mindful of the patterns that are created, because maybe there were things that, you know, you didn't actually like. And, you know, I think the important part also of, you know, not being reliant on other things in the, you know, in the actual act of sex and intimacy is like learning to voice what you like or what you want to experiment with. You know, like, that is a big part, because now you don't have like a distraction in between you. You have, like, literally just you and me. This is raw. This is raw and real. And so I think our relationships affect, you know, our sexual patterns as well. You know, and also like what you learn about sex or what you learn about intimacy. And some you learn, some of them learned from porn.
Yeah.
So the only thing that you know is whatever was made up by somebody else.
That's true.
And I think, yeah, I just, you know, when I came to the decision, it was like after the last time that I had used it, and I was like, I don't feel anything with this anymore.
Well, it's like the women pornography. Like you have the toys, and then the women. Well, I think women can do the same thing too. You lose the connection, and now you forget how to be affectionate because you're like, well, this I can just push on.
Exactly. It was like, oh, I can just do this if I'm feeling frustrated or I want to have this experience. Well, okay, I'll wait till you leave and then I'll have my time. And then it's like, but now I'm creating this distance between us.
That's right.
And so, you know, and I was in a state where I wasn't very high ego, very resistant to, you know, even going there, was processing a lot of things. I wasn't really sure, you know, about a lot of things. And then when I did this check, and I told you about it, and I actually posted this on my Facebook. And it was a little trick that I did that helped me so much in switching how I see this relationship and how I interact in the relationship and how I see you. And so this exercise that I did was, and there's multiple parts, but the first part that I did was I wrote down on a piece of paper, and this is when we were having like really challenging times, and I wrote down on a piece of paper with a pen, so, you know, I couldn't erase it. I would have to scratch something out. I guess you could scratch out, but anyway, the point is for it to be permanent. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper with a pen everything in my life that I perceived that was wrong and that I was blaming on you. And I wrote down everything that came to mind, everything that I thought in my life that was wrong that I blamed on you. And then I wrote on a new piece of paper everything that you bring value to, or everything that you do that is of value, right? It could be, you know, taking the dogs out, or making sure that everybody is safe and protected, or making dinner when I'm tired, or whatever it is, whatever you bring that is of value. And then I wrote down everything in my life that I'm blaming on you, but I'm accountable for. And literally everything that was on that first page was everything I wrote down on the last page. And then I wrote down, and I don't remember if I included this, but I wrote down how I want to perceive you and what I enjoy the most about you. So then each morning that I woke up, because I would remember this, and you could reread it or what have you, but the fact that you write it down, it inscribes it into your brain. So each time that I saw you, I would be confronted. It was very conflicting at first, because it was like the old me is trying to see you the way that I was seeing you, and the new me is trying to see you the way I want to see you. But every morning I made the intention of, I'm going to think of everything positive about you. And I would say them to myself. Say them to myself, but to you. So it would be, you know, I love you so much. Thank you for such and such. You were so great. You know, just building up all of this positivity about you. And what this did was just started to train my brain to, it's like convincing yourself into something. You can convince yourself that somebody is bad for you, or something is bad for you, or you convince yourself that something is good for you. You can convince yourself that exercising is not good for you, it is painful, it is uncomfortable, it takes up too much of your time, whatever. And so then you don't work out, or you don't make much of an effort to do it. But if you convince yourself that working out is healthy, you know, it's a time for me to create space for myself in my life, it not only helps me stay healthy, but it influences the rest of my family to be healthy, whatever the benefits are. So you can convince yourself to like somebody or to not like somebody.
That makes sense.
And I started to convince myself to like you. Not just like you, but love you. And envision myself being this woman who loves her partner. And honestly, this has really helped, not just in me seeing you differently and showing up towards you differently and respecting you, but it also changed how I want to engage with you intimately. And it was like, I want to engage with you. I want to experience you. I want to, you know, I want you to experience me. And yeah, and that kind of was, I would say that last time that I used my vibrator was like the catalyst for me to do this work, where it was like, I'm tired of fakeness, I'm tired of disconnection, I'm tired of all of this. I want connection, and I want to be in a relationship with somebody who I love and I value, and who loves and values me. So I had to do the work, you know, and it has truly transformed the way that I feel about you and the way that I interact with you, but also the way that I get to experience pleasure with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
that's great.
If anybody needs a little trick, you know, if you're struggling in your relationship and, you know, maybe you're having a hard time with connecting with one another, maybe you're blaming the person constantly for whatever it is, and it's taking away from the intimacy in your relationship, like you're kind of just having sex just because, you know, try that activity, because it has really transformed
That's great.
Me in our dynamic.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. That's great. It mostly comes down to a cause and effect, and an accountability thing. And again, I really believe in terms of sexuality, men and women both, they don't have this accountability factor. I remember last year, and this is when I was working with the gentleman that you were cooking for. I don't really talk about names, but you know what I'm talking about. But the one thing I told him to do was to Kegel. And I remember him looking at me like, why are we? I'm like, after we done training, we gonna Kegel. So it was like, look, you're gonna have to, you need to get this done. And it's almost like as soon as you say it, it's like a feminine thing, or, you know, it's not for men to do. No, men need to do it more than women need to do it. I believe, because most of y'all can't control your ejaculation. Most of y'all can't even control y'all like a minute or 2 minutes.
Wasn't that ultimately his favorite part?
That was his favorite part. That was his favorite. And literally, we 2.5 hours. Because he wanted all sessions inside of 2 days. So we're putting all these exercises in. I give him a break, everything. But after that, we literally go to meditate and we Kegel. And I'm like, you understand what the perineum, the flap of skin between, you have genital, you have anus, and you have perineum. You need to be able to control this so that you can get the energy to go up from the base of your spine to the top of your head. So it starts off the process of spirituality. Most people don't even look at it from a disciplined perspective. So I'm teaching them how to meditate. And I'm like, you need to be able to control yourself. Because if you can't control yourself, you can't pleasure yourself or somebody else. Because my pleasure comes from, my partner receiving pleasure from me. Not saying that, look, I'm a man. We're not created so complex where we cannot, enjoy pleasure from a little bit of heat and stimulation. That's it. We're really great, at least in my case. But you just want to have the connection. So by me making your experience pleasurable, I receive the pleasure from it.
Mm-hmm.
So why shouldn't I be able to extend it? Like, even if I know I have to go, or even if I know I got 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, I can give 15 minutes. I can give 20 minutes. I can give an hour if I got time. You know, but it's just, I know I need to be able to treat myself so I can treat you. You know, so I think it's a mind shifting thing where I started to understand it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I look at it like it's not for me, then I'm looking at it saying, how can I show up better? Like, I'm gonna go to a performance today. This is me I'm gonna get to perform. You know, I wanna have the best performance I possibly can. I wanna show up the best I possibly can on stage. And so I think it's a shift in how the mind works. Like, that's what you're talking about. Essentially, you're just in a shifting perspective.
Yeah.
And you should be able to do it with anything, but why is it that sex and money and relationship and attitude are things that are looked down upon when you do these exercises? People don't want to look at it in terms of money. They don't look at it in terms of sexuality, which is probably which affects your money. And I don't think people understand that either. But sexual energy does affect your money, because if you don't have any expression of sexual energy that you can go to be magnetic, nobody can come to you. See what I'm saying? And if you go to look at it from all the fakeness that's out there,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna tell me that all the BBL women and stuff like that, they're happy with what they're doing right now? I don't think so. I don't think that they're happy with what they're doing right now. I think that they're unhappy. And they're gonna eventually change it, and they're eventually gonna get rid of all that stuff, because they're gonna see that that's not the real them.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go to take away all the Botox and all the breast that's fake, and you can't even have your children like drink the milk from yourself. Like, it's crazy.
Can, but it definitely has an impact.
Yeah, probably more in an imbalanced way. You know, so just putting something foreign inside me, I'm not doing it. You know, so I just think it's gonna make the women unhappy.
And you're not putting yourself inside something foreign.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's, yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. You know, it's some would think to do that.
Yeah. So, does anything else come to your mind for creating a deep sexual connection with your partner?
I did this video a couple weeks ago, talked about setting a time.
Mm.
And yeah, fine. You know, you can have 10 businesses. You can have, 20 things to do in the daytime. You can still set aside some time. And whether it's some time to just lay around, or to just hold, each other or something, just set some time. And I believe early evening time, if you can get back. I haven't been getting back in early evening time because I've been just doing extra work.
Early morning time has been the time.
That's fine. I'm cool early morning time too. But it's just literally setting aside a time. I think you have got to prioritize the time and know that you can expect that to be prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
And know that you can expect to be, it's like having a date. You should be able to keep a date. Like, you should be able to say, hey, after 7 o'clock or after dinner time, we should be able to have intimacy time, before we come out to do recordings, or before we go out to serve throughout the day. We talk for half an hour, 45 minutes, something about whatever business things come to mind or ideas. We have to make time for that, because you can't go with discommunication. You have to be able to communicate. So why is it that people don't set aside a time?
Mm-hmm.
You block out a time to go do your content creation. If you're a content creator, you block out time to go have your meetings or your phone calls for your company. You block out time to go take the kids out. You block out time to go take the dog out. You mean to tell me that the last thing on your things to do list is to have sex with your partner? That's crazy. It doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't make sense. It should be in the top realm, but I believe that it's looked down upon because people aren't qualified enough to do it anymore. Or they're not capable enough to do it because they haven't taken care of themselves. So they can't even do it. They don't have any urge to do it.
Mm.
But you need to have that urge. And if you don't have the urge, it's because you're not feeling good on the inside. Something's wrong with you physically and mentally, more mentally than physically. Something's wrong with you. And you haven't gone in to address what's wrong. You've been overworking so that you can go away from the connection part. And that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna do you any good, but just keep you sick, and keep you tired and kill you sooner and drain your battery of all your energy. It's not how you want to live. It's not.
Yeah.
So, and in my opinion, just prioritizing a time and also figuring out what transparency really means, I think will enable anybody to build a deeper connection, especially sexually, but also aesthetically. Training yourself with your partner is really good. And it's not saying, we had issues. I'm not saying we in terms of, like where it's a fighting thing, but where I'm saying if somebody's letting themselves go, you need to address that. You need to not be afraid to say, hey, I'm used to you doing this and being up here. I don't know what's going on, but first of all, ask what's going on, and then the person should be transparent enough to say, hey, this is what's going on. Okay, well, let's see how we can rectify that so we can get you back up here. And if you need some help, then be available to help that person.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone into fluctuate. You've had plus 20, minus 20. No matter whatever you are at, plus whatever, 25. It doesn't matter about the number to me. It just matters what's going on. Do you need some help? What do you need help with? Okay, now let's get this done so we can get you back here. And when I say let's get you back here, I'm here to participate with you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not there to participate with you to do that, I shouldn't be able to ask you to do that. And that's how I think people in terms of relationship, in order to be able to get a better connection, you need to be available to help the person to become their best self. I mean, that's a mental and physical thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth a whole lot more, because you should be attractive. You should be a sexy person. We went to the museum the other day, and I'm like, yeah, this is my person here. She looks great. I didn't put the work in. I didn't pick anything up for her. She picked it up. I just reminded her to do it, and I gave her a plan to do it, and I demonstrated beforehand, and I said, this is what you're gonna do. This is how I do it. This is how you're gonna look if you keep doing it. You know how to do this already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then whenever you decide that you wanna go to sleep, I'm gonna remind you, hey, you gotta get this done. Hey, did you get this done? Whether it's a fight, okay, well, come on, put the gloves on, because you can't take me out. I'm here for you. So until you get up and do it, okay, did you get up and do it? Are you good? Okay. It's for you to celebrate yourself and look in the mirror and say, look at me. And I'm not gonna, don't come to me. You celebrate yourself and say, look at me.
Yeah.
That's where the joy comes in, to say, I didn't enable you to go to sleep, and forget about your priority of self-care. That's where it brings me joy, to say, yeah, I held you accountable. And now look at the joy that you're experiencing now. That makes me feel great. And so I think that's what people don't have. Men don't have it right now. They're too afraid. The women want to start to yell and fight their way instead of being accountable for it. I think a lifestyle shift in terms of food, changing the bad things. I'm not much of a drinker, so
You're not a drinker.
I'm not a drinker at all, actually.
Me neither.
So yeah, it's not something that you want. I look down upon it like, at this moment, I don't do the weed smoker, and I think it's all foolishness. I think I need to keep myself as pure as possible. And I think if I have a partner, then I should encourage her to do the same. And I should also set a boundary that if she can't do that, I'm out. And because you can't pick that over the commitment of a relationship.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's mine. I mean, if you have anything to add, but.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna definitely say, like, transparency and vulnerability actually helps cultivate deeper intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And doing intimate acts that are not actually just sex.
Yeah.
I think help a lot with, especially being more focused on you and the person and the energy in the room in intimate space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doing things like massage or just like a sensual touch or cuddling or things that don't require per se intercourse of any kind, but like just doing things like holding hands when you walk, which we do, and just, you know, offering to like rub somebody after a long day, or you know, waking up in the morning and I touch you, I rub your back, or you know, like just something sensual, because the more that you practice that, the more that you that just becomes your new patterning. And so yeah, I mean, those are ways that I think are helpful, that have been helpful for me in the intimate aspect, but also the mind work is really important too, because especially women are just so mental. We can be in our heads so much that like we want to be in our bodies, we want to be out of our bodies, but we get so into our heads, and sometimes we're afraid to speak up about something, like, oh, I don't like that, or I would prefer this, or let's try this. Like, we're often afraid to express that. And you know, something that I realized that was such an impact for me actually with speaking up and being a more vocal and expressive person was we stayed with your mom for a while at her house.
Oh yeah.
And we were very secretive about sexy time. Yeah. And I remember feeling like I can't be free. And so that was actually part of, you know, what kind of stopped me or blocked my throat chakra from being more open and expressive, was because I had to be quiet. But I was used to being like very vocal and just free, like I don't care who hears me. But yeah, so like creating a space that you can feel free and expressive, like it's not, I mean, sometimes it's fun to do it in places where you're like, oh my god, we might get caught, you know, but like just that's a big part too, I think, is setting the tone where you both feel safe to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So
okay,
that's what I have to say.
That's good.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, that's it for today. If you guys like this video, if you like our videos, please leave a comment below, like, subscribe, share, continue to follow us, turn on the notification bell, as we have new videos, new episodes every week, and we touch on everything health and wellness. We touch on relationships, sex, food relationships, spirituality, you name it, everything is integrated and interconnected. And so health is really the vitality of every aspect of your life. So stay tuned for more episodes, and until then, thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of the Alkalign Lifestyle podcast. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and empowering as you continue on your journey towards a healthier and more balanced lifestyle. Remember, small changes can lead to significant transformations in your well-being. Stay tuned for more expert insights and practical tips on living the alkalign way.
Bye.